What's up, everybody? Move, think, smile followers, and everybody in our fatigue-free professional group. It's Adam Bonins and Elliot Foscheron coming at you live, and I just returned from doing probably the second hardest obstacle race of my life. Together, Ellie and I have done about 123 of them. I'm in the 70s, and what I did over this weekend was basically it was more than a half a marathon. It was about 14 miles. It was up a mountain, 4,000 foot elevation gain, 35 obstacles, some I'd never seen before, and it's called the Beast. And I've been training in beast mode for a long time, and I want to say that I'm very very happy with my results. Placed in the top 20% overall, which is pretty fantastic for being a 40 something year old guy. And what I think is really amazing is that I had never ever done an obstacle race or run or anything in my life till after I got into my 40s. And in fact, when I came into my 40s, I was probably in the worst shape of my life. And now I'm in the best shape of my life. But we're not here to talk about fitness. What I want to share with you guys is, this little medal right here, this guy, the green signifies, the hard one, the hard beast. And what we've been talking to a lot of people recently are obstacles with their careers. And a lot of people are just having massive, massive challenges. Either they're kind of stuck in a place or stuck in a position, or they are not, or they're plateaued, or they're sinking backwards. And a lot of it has to do with they're just not hitting the goals that they're seeking out to get, and life just keeps throwing them one business obstacle after another. So,
Yep.
so we're back here today in this episode. What we really want to share with you guys are the 5 things that we've learned, or the 5 ways to accelerate your career like a Spartan. And these are the things that we've learned from doing our combined 123 obstacle races over the past few years. And, some of these things, I would never have ever guessed before doing these. And a lot of these didn't even hit me until probably just, in the past year or two. And when I personally plateaued on my physical level. And I think what's really interesting is I learn these things. It really accelerates our business. It really accelerates our career, accelerates the effect that we have with our clients.
Yeah.
And we just want to get in there and let's just dive in, Ellie. Let's just kind of get this started. So number one of the first things that I've learned is never power through without a plan. And
Yeah.
let's put this in the realm of the career world, the business world. Okay.
Yep.
I was very guilty of this, and I'm fairly certain Elliot can say she was guilty of this too. When we had our last 2 businesses, which were quite successful, and before we burned out, what we would do is obstacles would just come up, obstacles would just come up, obstacles would just come up, and we would just power through. We were in a pretty sexy industry. We had a lot of really high visibility. We were kind of big fish in small pond in kind of way, and it was cool. A lot of people knew who we were. And so we would when those obstacles just kept popping up, we would just keep trying to power through them. And we kept getting slapped back. And so it felt like we were just putting out fires every day. It just felt like we were kind of living every day as an emergency is one way to put it. Now, one thing I noticed this weekend, and Ellie, you can chime in here and stack on. One thing I noticed this weekend was there was this one guy, we were probably about 7 miles in, and the inclines were pretty steep. I wouldn't call them ridiculous. I mean, you could walk up it without having to climb it or scramble it, but they were long, a mile and a half long, and they were ankle killers, thigh killers, everything killers.
Yeah.
And I watched several people just get into this thing and just try to power through it, right? And they didn't really understand how the races work. Now, what's interesting about a Spartan race or an obstacle race is if it's done properly, you don't know what's around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't. You know approximately about how long it is. You know there's some obstacles out there. Some of them you've seen. A lot of them you haven't. And even the ones you've seen are always going to be changed. And they're always going to be different. They're going to be longer. They're going to be harder. They're going to throw some water in there. They're going to do something different. So you never really know. So these people were powering through. And they didn't really have a plan, and they weren't really taking time to fuel themselves. And what happened is this guy ended up ripping his abdominal wall, hiking up this hill, or mountain, better to say, or trying to run up this hill. He's a bigger dude, and he just came crashing down to the point where he couldn't get up. And he was he was in an area that nobody could get to him. Like and I later on I saw a helivac come in, and I hope it was just a helicopter making rounds and no one had got airlifted out of there, but it could have been him. And what's really interesting is the helicopter would not have been able to get in there because of where the hills were and the tree lines and all that kind of stuff. And any type of rescue squad would have come in and would have had to kind of sled him and drag him down the mountain, right, in a very uncomfortable way. So what he did is he went into powering through this thing into an unknown, uncharted territory, not knowing where the next break point was going to be, or the next medic was going to be, or the next safety check was going to be, and he ate it. He ate it bad, and he did not have a plan. One, he didn't know how to take care of himself when he got injured, and he immediately went into a freak out mode, really bad. So his mental state, he did not have that trained. He did not have that planned. And on top of that, he was not prepared. He was not prepared for the unknown, and it took him out and it took him down. He didn't even finish the race. Elia, what can you throw on top of that? I mean, I keep having this vision in my mind, and it probably slowed me down by about 15 minutes because I stopped to help him.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to what we're saying. So there are two types of powering through, right? And Adam, what you're talking about is like powering through with a plan and strategies, or powering through and just trying to use your sheer force to get what you want. And this is something that we hear all the time when we talk to people on the phone and we chat with our clients, is powering through and using that force. They've been doing it, since they were in their 20s or even before, right? It's like, but once you get over 40, once you start getting, into the second chapter of your life, your body no longer will allow you to have poor strategies, to just push it through anything, right? You have to become wiser and be able to use your body in a way that really facilitates your success. And that's what most people are actually not doing, because they have no sense of, how do I really take care of myself? I know how to push, I know how to force, but to actually have that know-how between, where is that fine line between, giving it your all and pushing really hard and doing so kind of carelessly, right? And I think any athlete too, or think about any sport that you do, and this is very clear, you might not just start a brand new sport just powering through the whole thing without any instruction or training or plan or strategy, right?
Right. And I think what's really important here is, how does this relate to, accelerating your career?
Yeah.
And I'm very guilty of it, and I watch a lot of people do this too. It's very admirable to try and power through things, to tough it out, to grind it out, right? To just grit, right? That's become a really big word lately. But what they don't understand is, grit does not mean, I hate to say this, being stupid or ignorant, right? Not knowing. And oftentimes we use powering through as a cover-up for ignoring what's really going on.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, if I just make it through today, it's just stress. It's just going to go away. This obstacle, whatever difficult customer, boss, colleague, investor I've got to deal with today, right? I just power through. And power through. And that immediately triggers chemicals being released by the brain. It's basically telling your body that you're being chased by a lion, right? Fight or flight. Yeah. And when you keep living every day as an emergency, which is basically when you're powering through without a plan, you're living every day as an emergency, and you're triggering those chemicals, and those chemicals are literally shutting down your mitochondria at the cellular level. It's causing fatigue, and then a whole host of health problems can come out depending on what your genetics are. And it's a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we hear, over and over. And it's heartbreaking, because a lot of the people that we speak with, again, those of you struggling with fatigue and burnout, there's a really real threat to your career. I mean, not only are you not accelerating your career, but for a lot of people, they're worried they're going to lose their business or their job because their performance is just poor. And even though they could just keep, again, powering through, showing up, drinking more coffee, using more meds to get through the day, hoping they don't have to get on high blood pressure medicine, hoping they don't have to do this or that, but just, pushing, it's not the way to get ahead anymore. There's a time and a place for it and a time to use that tool, but most of us don't understand that we're using that tool all the time, and it's actually making us slide backwards, not forwards.
No, that's very true. And I think in the realm, when I came up to that hill, like I knew what was coming. It's the
Mm-hmm.
beast. When we did that one back in, I think it was 2015 in Vernon, New Jersey on that friggin' double black diamond that took us 7.5 hours or 8 hours.
That
And
was terrible.
that was probably I'm very proud of ourselves that we did it, but it was horrifying.
Yeah.
Um, we powered through that without a plan, not knowing what to really do. I almost, well, actually, I did injure my knees. Um, I did some stuff to my muscles. I did some stuff other places too. And
Mm-hmm.
and here's another great example. So in the last race I did, I was helping one of our clients up over this muddy slip wall. It's about a 45-degree angle wall, and it was covered in freaking mud. And it was raining. Usually it's pretty easy to get over, but this is when it's wet and icy. It's really tough, right? So got him here, and I'm pulling him up, and I damaged my bicep tendon. That was back in April, and
Mm-hmm.
since then I've been having a really hard time hanging from anything like monkey bars or doing push-ups. And so in a Spartan race, if you miss an obstacle, you're supposed to do 30 burpees as a penalty. And so that wasn't going to help. I couldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to do
Yeah.
it. And then so I knew on the monkey bars that, or any of the climbing obstacles that was just hanging from my hands, it was going to be tough because, you're pulling yourself up and it's engaging that shoulder, that tendon right there, right at the shoulder point. And there were two obstacles that I actually had to, my plan was if I feel like I might damage this, I'm going to try it. But if I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I might damage this, I'm just going to stop. And so one is called the Twister, and it was like 30% longer than it normally is because it was a beast, and they had the things all different. And so the technique that I normally knew was good. And what I found that was interesting is I got to the thing, it was the first hanging obstacle. And because I was so concerned about my shoulder and hurting myself again, I almost became confused in my technique, which was really
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Like normally turn around, go backwards, do this really crazy thing, and it works really well for me. But I got halfway through with it, and I started feeling my shoulder, and I started contemplating options in my head. Do I let go? Do I keep going? Do I let go? Do I keep going? And then I just lost my technique. And so I
Mm-hmm.
turned around, did another technique, and it's like it just got it, and I got 2/3 of the way through, and I finally decided that powering through would not be a good idea. So my
Yeah.
plan was to drop.
Mm-hmm.
And normally, what it's called zero burping. Normally, I complete all my obstacles without a problem. I've been doing that for years, but I dropped on that one. And then
Yeah.
another one at toward the end of the race that came up. It's called the multi-rig, rings and ropes and bars and stuff like that. I got about well, actually more like 80% of the way through, and the same thing happened. And I just like, you know what? I'm not gonna power through this because I don't want to hurt myself. And that's
Yeah.
what people do with their careers. They power through shitty careers. They power through bad situations. They power through stress. And the next thing you know, they end up having problems with, well, their happiness. They're not happy. And then they usually end up having problems with their health a lot of times, or they get stuck in plateau.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I think what's important too here is to just kind of real quick, part of the reason we, and it doesn't matter, you guys, whether you do a Spartan or something else, but what's also really important here is understanding that every experience in your life is an opportunity to grow yourself in your career, right? To accelerate your career. A lot of times we get these blinders on and we just think, oh, my career is over here and this is over here and everything is compartmentalized.
right.
But that is not, that actually, again, you're not utilizing everything in your life. You're not using everything as fuel, as energy to move yourself forward. So getting out there and conquering these obstacles physically really help us conquer those obstacles in our head, or like we're saying here with powering through, really being able to see how this affects us on the course physically also helps us really tune into when we're in the office doing work. Oh, this is what I'm doing right now. I'm powering through without a plan, and this is going to end up with me crashing. Or I'm going to power through today because I've got the strategies, I've got, the training, I've got a map, and I'm going to push through because I feel like I know exactly what I'm up to, right?
Yeah.
And that really can also lead us into the second key thing. Adam, if you want to start with that one.
Right. So number one, never power through without a plan. And sometimes it's really just as simple.
Yeah.
Let go. Learn to recognize the pain and to let go before it becomes a serious injury and you're the dude on the side of the mountain that they can't get to. Okay?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Number two, don't be resilient. You're probably like, what the hell are you talking about? I thought Spartan was all
Yeah.
about resiliency and grit. No, no, no. Grit for sure. Be anti-fragile. And here's what we mean by this. Resilience, if you look at the definition of the word, it's literally to take something, kind of distort it, bend it out of shape, right? And then put it back together,
Put it back
right?
together. Yeah.
Basically break it, and then put it back together. That's kind of like resilience is. It's like you get broken and put back together. You cannot let yourself break at any time during one of these races. If you do, it's game over. You either get disqualified, injured, or the dude on the side of the mountain who they can't get to. Okay? So you got to stop looking to be resilient, because what you're doing is you're just enforcing the fact that I'm going to break and I need to bounce back from that. What you've got to be able to do is you got to learn how to become anti-fragile. And Elia, you gave me a great definition of this right before we got on with this episode.
Yeah, so I want you guys to think about anti-fragile as actually a way of building your belief system. So when you, for example, define your success, your confidence, your worthiness by whether you finish a Spartan race or win or place in a certain category, or if this is in your business, it's, your idea of your own self-worth is connected to hitting certain sales numbers, achieving this, achieving that. You become very fragile because those are end results. And as Tom Bilyeu likes to say, the struggle is guaranteed, but success is not. Okay? The struggle is guaranteed, but success is not. So you better freaking love the struggle. And that's one thing that
I got to interrupt because I got to just listen to what she just said. The success is not guaranteed, but the struggle is. Okay? The Spartan Beast, heck, any Spartan race, any obstacle race, it's going to have struggles. Yeah. It's going to have they have obstacles. That's what they call it, an obstacle race, right? You got to come up on these things. You got to know the technique. You got to learn how to conquer them, on and on. But I would say a lot of people who enter the Spartan races don't even finish. The shorter ones, it's got a higher finish rate for sure. The bigger ones, it's got a much lower finish rate because they're freaking tough.
Yeah.
You're going into it knowing there's going to be a struggle. The thing is, when it comes to your career or your business, a lot of times, and I don't know how this happens, Ellie, and you can expand on this, but it's like we sugarcoat, like it's just going to be great. We're going to go in there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this many leads, I'm going to get these many customers, I'm going to do this for my project, I'm going to lead the way out of here, I'm going to do all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't. It's just one giant struggle after another. So I just wanted to say, comparing the two together, it's like your career is just like doing a Spartan Beast. In fact, it's probably worse. You have more struggles with your career or your business than you ever on a half marathon up a mountain. I can guarantee you that.
Yes. More complicated decisions, more complications with the people that you work with, the keeping your momentum, keeping your motivation and your sense of pride alive, right, is constantly being challenged. Working dynamics are more complex than they ever have been before. And going back to this idea of anti-fragile is really about defining yourself by who you are in the struggle, not the end result. And also really understanding that if you're going to take a leap to accelerate your career, you better love the struggle or you will probably drop out. Yeah. So one of the things too that I really realized with Spartan, and a lot of people have looked at me and some of my friends like, God, why would you want to do that? Or especially I have some friends, and my sister is, married in the military, and they kind of laugh, right? Like, why would you want to choose to put yourself into that? But it's because I love the struggle. I love the struggle of being outside, running in nature, trying to push myself in that way. But if I defined my success by the amount of time it takes me to do a race, or the amount of sales I get in whatever business, like in our previous business, all of my worth is tied up in the end result. And that's a very dangerous, fragile place to be. So it's about defining your belief system and your worth on your willingness to try. Your willingness to, go through hell and high water, right? Yeah. To conquer the struggles, and how you're showing up. And the fact that you had the courage to even try to start a business, to maintain a business, to go into your boss's office and ask for a raise. The fact that you did that, no matter whether you get a raise or not, that's the win, right? Not the end result. And that's what makes you anti-fragile. And you've got to realize that you've got to redefine, right, who you are as a success and what defines that.
Okay, and anti-fragile means not breaking when you don't get what you want.
Exactly.
Because that's the definition of struggle.
Yeah.
You're not getting what you want.
Yeah, and I think, we're referencing a lot of Tom Bilyeu's work here, but it really applies here. He has really defined his level of success as, if I am the learner, if I position myself as a learner, I will always be succeeding, because being a learner means I'm always willing to take in more information. I'm always willing to be wrong. I'm always willing to look at other perspectives.
Yep.
I'm always willing to shift, to do what it takes to get this job done.
Yes.
Right? It's not the end result. It's how you're showing up in the middle. And that's us on the course too, right, Adam? How we show up in those moments when we're just like, we want to give out, right?
Right. It's really about, and how do you become anti-fragile? Yeah, train your brain is really one way to put it. And
it's who you are,
right?
Who you are in success.
That's part of it, though. The thing is so many of us look for like these quick fixes of life. It's like, okay, I'm going to take my B vitamins so I get natural energy. I'm going to do this because of this, or I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go to the chiropractor today because my back's whacked out. I'm going to do all these kind of things. And what they do is they're always looking for ways to be resilient, right? Mm-hmm. To bounce back from when they need an adjustment, right? I can bounce back and I'm going to be resourceful, so I'm going to go to the chiropractor. But what if you never had to go to the chiropractor in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. What if you never broke in the first place? And this is where Ellie and I really, really, this is the concept of move, think, smile. And it's all about really, putting your health first, right? Because putting your health first accelerates your career, it accelerates everything. And what it does is that's the number one thing for becoming anti-fragile. And you cannot work on your mindset. You cannot train your brain, because if you remember, it is a living organ and it only produces the good stuff up here when you take care of down here, your entire body. So that's the key right there. You've really got to put your health on top of everything if you want to be anti-fragile and not break in half when things come around and become a big struggle.
Yeah.
So number 3, and I've kind of improvised a little bit, Ellie, here, and based on what you just said, is you've got to embrace the suck and find a win when you lose. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever heard of embrace the suck, but that's basically when you go into shitty conditions. And when I got up to the third freaking hill climb, that was another freaking mile long,
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, my legs are really starting to go. And I was really crazy. It's like I was having I worked on my quads so they didn't burn. So now my quads are all strong. Now my hip flexors are burning. It's like, okay, great. So what I'm going to do is, here's my plan, right? I'm going to power through this thing, but I'm going to pay attention. If any of these things happen, I'm going to let go. Number 2, I'm going to embrace this and I'm going to love this because I know it's going to make me stronger, but I was prepared. Number 3, okay, so the loss here was, the win was my quads were great, but my hip flexors were gone, right? So it was completely slowed down. I got to the point where I was actually crawling on all fours like this because after 4,000 feet of freaking, an elevation gain of 4,000 feet over a period of a couple miles, you're just like, and it was a really, really steep one. So,
and you're with sea level training, right?
Right. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina, which is at sea level. I train at 14 feet above sea level, and it may not seem like a bunch, but when you're at like 3,500 or 4,000 feet up, it's a big difference. Yeah. Like just oxygen levels go down, all kinds of stuff. I was dealing with sinus problems, and there's a lot of mold and bacteria out there. I don't know what it was. I was allergic to something, but I was like, okay, this sucks, but I'm going to embrace it. And when I lost on those 2 obstacles because I chose to let go, so I didn't injure myself, the win was, okay, I now know how far I can get across this, and what do I need to do in order to get across it next time so I don't have this shoulder issue? What do I need to do here? So embracing that kind of thing. So finding the win when you lose is really critical, and you can do this every day. Most people don't. They usually hold on to a story that is a story of loss,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we've talked about these before. It's like stories like, I can't do it because of this, or I
Mm-hmm.
don't have the resources, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the support, I don't have whatever it is. And people live in that story of Loserville.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. I can't because of this, or they'll make up excuses. Yeah, but I have this, I have this excuse, or yeah, but this is what's going on. Yeah, but this person is doing this over here, or yeah, but whatever it is. And I remember, you know, when we had our other businesses that we burned out of, for me those excuses were, yeah, but we've got to be open every day of the week if we want to maximize our sales.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a story that I told myself for a decade, and we didn't. We
Yeah.
didn't. We just didn't need to be. Or yeah, but um, I'm we're not going to make any money in January and February because we're in water sports and it's cold, and so no one's going to buy anything from us. And of course they didn't, because that was the yeah but I kept giving myself. Ellie, do you have any examples?
Yeah, well, I think what's important here is like you're saying, the slippery slope here, and what's so important to understand is that the yeah buts are valid, right? The validity of, yeah, it's January, or yeah, you can be open 7 days a week, or yeah, you can work 60 hours, or yeah, your boss is being a jerk, or yeah, being a business owner is hard. Those are all valid excuses, but do you want to live by excuses, right? Do you want to be bigger than that? Do you want to embrace those excuses and but keep moving forward? Because it's like those excuses are irrelevant to getting to your goal, right? Irrelevant to really finding your wins.
Right.
And as you were saying, the win was actually stopping before you hurt yourself. And there is always, always a win to be found, but we forget that there is something there. We just wallow in the things that aren't working,
Right.
the things, that are falling apart. When we still have so much abundance in our health and in our career, but we can't see it,
Right.
right?
Right.
We're just stuck in the suck.
No, people they get stuck and suck. They don't embrace it. And the only way to get out of a sucky thing is you've got to embrace what's going on to you. You've got to love it. You got to appreciate it. You got to find the celebrations in it. You've got to find the wins. Like when I saw that last hill, I'm like, there is nothing I wanted to celebrate.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
And when I think about my Spartan experience, for a long time I was beating myself up because, when I was in high school and college, I was a long distance runner. I was a cross country runner, and I was decently, I was never super fast, but I was, I felt really on top of my game. Well, picking up Spartan in my 40s, or close to my 40s when we started, I just felt super, super slow. And, my nickname on the course is the tank because I have one speed, but I never stop. And for a long time, that really bothered me because I'm like, I want to be faster. I want to be faster. But then I just had to really embrace, like, this is me. Yeah, it sucks to be this slow, but you know what the win is? The win is I never stop, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I would actually end up equaling other people on the course who were faster just because they ran faster, but then they had to take more breaks, or they weren't as fast through the obstacles because they were pushing themselves so hard. So I kind of had that constant steady speed. So I had to take what I initially thought was a negative and turn it into realizing that's actually a huge win,
Yeah.
right? This is part of my edge on the
Yep.
course.
Yep.
And it's the same thing in business. What is your edge in the business that you're not claiming, that you're not saying, this is mine, this is my win, and I'm going to use it to my advantage?
Yeah. So if if it feels like you're just losing and you can't get past anything, you've got to find a win. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
find a win, and you've got to take that. You got to embrace it. And you got to move forward, and that leads us right into number 4. And this one is really important. You probably heard the term, know your limits. Um,
Yeah.
but one thing I've learned is know your limits and do whatever it takes and work to remove those limits. You've got to remove those limits. And one of the best examples I can think of this for me personally, when we were on the NBC television show, and we were doing Spartan racing and competing against American Ninja Warrior guys. And that second to last obstacle, um, the water was like 37 degrees, and it was basically you just had to get in the water and swim under a wall 3 of them. Not really that hard, but it was chilled to really cold and we live in the water. Like that's where our old office used to be, basically, was the ocean. So we really understand water temperature. And it was under 40 degrees. And I hit that thing at full hot, like blood pumping, heart rate was up, and all of a sudden all my veins and capillaries just condensed and my blood pressure went out the roof and I couldn't breathe in. Couldn't breathe in. So what ended up happening is for the next 2 years, I had psychological trauma, PTSD, over that dunk wall that gave me, and I came up hypothermic, by the way. So I was really chilled. It was very scary. And I had a hard time taking a bath, even though it was warm. I had a hard time getting into any type of water, even in the summertime, just for fear of that. And so that became a limit for me. But I realized that, and I didn't, and for about the first year, I really didn't do a lot with it. It's like, I'm just not dealing with water. I'm just not going to avoid it. I went to avoidance mode, and I completely avoided any type of water that I could possibly avoid, right?
Yeah.
But then I realized this thing is really limiting my life. Like, it's really limiting all the things I want to do. So I know what my limits are, and you've got to work to remove them, okay? And so I worked on that. Another great example, the guy who was going up the hill, who had no business going up that hill in the first place because he did not understand his limits.
Yeah.
He did not understand his limits, and the hill crushed him. It took him down. In fact, the body count towards the end of this thing was pretty big. Like, it started about 7-8 miles, and then as you went through, more and more people just started dropping off the course, right? Muscle cramps all over the place. And people don't understand their limits. So they go and try and tackle the beast. And that's the one everybody wants to accomplish. That's the one everybody wants to finish. That's the one everybody wants to win. But they don't understand their limits. So they go into it, they get hurt, and a lot of times they never come back.
Yeah.
They never come back because they never understood their limits in the first place. And even if they know their limits, like what's really crazy is I don't have a fear of heights at all. You can dangle me from a helicopter, I'm cool. But I have a fear of jumping. I have a fear of jumping from heights. So if it's like 10 to 12 foot or more and I've got to jump down into something,
yeah.
I don't know where.
I didn't realize this. Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from, but I realized that was a limit of mine. So I started working on removing that limit because there are some obstacles that you go to that you climb up a platform and it's like 15 feet up and you've got to jump. And it's like, and I found myself freezing on those, and of course wasting valuable time because you're in an obstacle race. So you've really got to understand your limits and work to remove them. And how this relates to fueling your career or fueling your business is you've got to understand what you're really capable of and what you're not.
Yeah.
And you've got to work.
Make your plan or strategy to, like you said, to bust through that limit, right?
Yes.
And this kind of ties into the first step, which is like not just powering through without a plan. This is the same thing, understanding your limits and then figuring out how you're going to break through. And I have to say that, as tough as challenges are, again, they are beautiful teachers, right? So, for example, in our past business, I powered through. I pushed myself to the extreme. I wasn't feeling well. I hadn't been feeling well, but I was kind of in denial, and I was just kind of like, whatever. I just keep powering through. I don't stop. That's who I am. And went to the shop and actually passed out, banged my head on a concrete floor, had a black eye for like a week, and realized, oh my God, that's a limit, right? I have a limit there. I can't push myself that hard. I had to go back and say, okay, how do I keep from hitting that limit again? Oh, that means I need to have better strategies for self-care. That means I need to understand that, I can push myself and I can work like crazy. But if I'm going to push myself at this level, I better have an equal level of self-care, maintenance, focusing on my health, and understanding how I'm going to balance those two, right?
Yes. No, absolutely. And I think when it comes to limits, people think they can just get by on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. People think that they can, what's okay to sacrifice my health a little bit because, it's for a greater cause. It's for the business goal or the career goal or whatever it is. But what it really, you've got to understand that what your limits are. Like, what kind of performance level do you have? Are you operating at a high performance level? A lot of people like to think they are when they really aren't. They're actually, most people, I'll say this, everybody can operate up here. But most people operate probably here. And there's a lot of people that operate down here. and these are the people that most of the people in this group are operating at this like mid to low mid level because they don't understand their limits. And
Yeah.
so they choose strategies like powering through or ignoring or, guys, when you're doing things in your career or business and you're not making the forward progress that you want to, there's a limit there that you've got to uncover.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what that limitation is, whatever's not working for you, and you've got to work to remove that limitation.
I was going to say, and the other thing that really sucks with this is a lot of times people will hit a limitation and then just quit, right? And when they quit, their self-worth and confidence just goes out the window, right? And that's another thing I know, you guys, we've heard this a lot from the people in the group is like, we talk a lot about the health ramifications of burnout and fatigue, but the hits to your confidence, that's, just as critical too for, again, being able to accelerate your career. You got to feel confident in who you are, confident in your decisions. And a lot of times we hit these limits and we just quit. Right. And I know that you don't want to quit, but again, your belief system that you can't go any further.
Right. It's the I can't. Mm-hmm. It's the I can't because that's my limit. Yeah. So what you got to do is, if you want to reach high performance with your career or your business, you want to reach high performance with your life, which basically means having a successful career and having the health and the energy and the free time to enjoy that success. And that's pretty much the definition, right? Health, wealth, and happiness. Who doesn't want all three? And you can have all of them. So recognize what are your limits. Some of them some of them you probably don't. This is what's really important here, because it's hard to see, what's going on outside your house when you're always in it.
Yeah.
It's all, if you know what I mean there. So find out what your limits are and do whatever it takes. Do what you need to do and work to remove those limits, and then move on.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, and no one asked for help. Mm-hmm. And there were two obstacles that, usually I crush all the obstacles by myself. But this time, again, had some stuff going on here. And I was running with my cousin and a friend of mine here from Charleston. And I got to this one obstacle. It's called the box. It looks deceivingly simple, but it is ridiculously hard. It's really, really tough. It takes a lot of people down. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't do what I need to do. So I had to ask for help. Mm-hmm. And, I got a boost from the bottom and got some help up top. And then I turned around and a lot of other people needed help too. So you got to know and ask for help. And there's another obstacle right toward the end. I knew that, it was basically you just got to hoist yourself up onto this platform, climb over a car net. But again, because of the way my body was fatigued and what my shoulder was doing, I knew what my limit was.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that to remove that limitation. But I also went and asked for help. So you have to understand when things aren't working. And if you give it a shot, 2 shots, 3 shots, and it's not working, that doesn't mean give up.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't mean keep doing the same thing and keep failing, because that's what usually tears people down. I don't understand why this is working. Why can't it work? How come? I just want to win today. Just a little celebration. Just somebody give me a sign that this is working. That this is, I don't want to have to drink a pot of coffee tomorrow morning to wake up because I drank a bunch of wine tonight to mellow out because I'm so stressed out from the day or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be able to know how to get out there and ask for help, especially when it comes to your performance with your career. Just like on an obstacle course, when you come across an obstacle and you know where you want to be over here, like I want to be at the finish line. But there's this thing standing. Right, there's this thing standing in front of me that I can't friggin' get over. Mm-hmm. And I know, and you've got you got 3 options. You can walk away and disqualify, quit the race, which that's never a good option. 2, you can fail the obstacle, go do 30 burpees. And if you guys don't know what a burpee is, it's basically a jumping jack down to a thrust and a push up and back up. Do 30 of those in a Spartan race, it's like game over. Like it's like it just wears your gas tank out. It just depletes the gas tank, just drains it. And it's really, you do that more than maybe once you could get through it, do it a couple times. It might take you 9 to 10 hours to finish the race. Like it's really going to drain you. So basically, don't even quit trying, fail the obstacle, conquer it if you can do it on your own, or get the help you need to get up over top of it.
I mean, I think Spartan, one thing that I love about obstacle course races is I have to say, when we're on those courses, like a lot of times, I mean, people are so ready to offer you help, right? Like a lot of times I might not think I need help and someone sees me struggling and the next thing I know, I've got like this hand pushing me, up over a wall and it's like help is coming up like almost out of nowhere, right? And that's so key to feeling successful, to feeling like you're a part of a community, to feeling like, you're going to be unstoppable because you have that support system. And when it comes to your career, now a lot of times you're going to get those little hints of, do you need help, by things that people say to you, like, hey, are you okay? Man, you look tired all the time. Hey, blah, blah, blah. You'll start to hear
Red flags.
people, yeah, reflect and give you concern. And again, it's so important to start to notice that and also to ask yourself, do you feel like you have the support you need? And a lot of people we talk to feel like they're alone, even though they're surrounded by tons of people. They just feel like the struggle is completely solely, within, and that no one can understand, no one can help them, right?
No. I mean, we know that's true because out of every 100 people watching us, 75 of them, that's 3 out of 4 people, that's one away from everyone, is dealing with some type of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're dealing with some type of burnout, that means there's some fatigue in there. There's also some crazy brain stuff going on there, where either be fear, anxiety, worry, frustration, pissed off, whatever emotion is your go-to, right?
Yeah.
And there's usually some health problems in there,
Yeah.
right? And there's probably, or you're doing things that are going to cause health problems, like you're using things to cope that you probably shouldn't be doing, and the things that you should be doing, you're just not doing them. You're not really sure how to get there and how to really take charge of your health.
Yeah.
So, guys, that I think what it really leads to is, if you want to accelerate your career like a friggin' Spartan, right? You want to get in there and you want to crush those obstacles that come from the world of business, the world of having a job, whether it be customers, clients, patients, colleagues, bosses, executives, vice presidents, CEOs, stockholders, shareholders. What else is going to be in there? Your employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or your team. If you want to be able to crush that like a Spartan, you have got to get out there and you've got to remember to, number one, don't power through without a plan.
Yeah.
Right? Number two, you've got to be able to stop trying to be resilient. Just stop. You've got to become anti-fragile, unbreakable, I guess is one way to put it. Right? Number three, embrace the suck and find a win even when you lose. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, know your limits and work to remove them. And number 5, know when to ask for help. If you do those 5 things, you will ignite your career like a V8 engine with nitroglycerin. Or nitrous oxide, sorry. Wrong nitro. One's going to blow up. Which I'm pretty sure I put that in my gas tank when we went through our burnout quite some time ago. I fueled it with the wrong stuff. And I did not do any of these strategies. I did exactly the opposite. And that's what most people are doing. So 3 out of 4 people watching this, and most likely it's probably a higher rate than that, because our group is specifically for people struggling with their careers. There's people who want to be a higher achiever and achieve higher things and have a happier life and have a healthier life. Guys, you got to do those 5 things. And if things aren't working for you, seriously, ask for help. And we're here. You can book a call. You can book a free call with us. Go over to movethinksmile.com/talk. There's absolutely no cost for it. We'll get on the phone for about 45 to 60 minutes, and we'll dive into all 5 of those things. How you can make that plan, how you can start embracing the suck and finding wins, how you become anti-fragile, how you can know your limits and start working to remove them, how to really get your health back, right? Not just the health for your body, but the health for your brain, your mental power, your health for high performance in your career, high performance in your life. If this at all interests you, stop thinking that you're just going to do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the number of people. It's like, oh, we really want to book a call with you. I got to see if I can get some time available. You have got to make your health non-negotiable. That probably would probably be number 6.
Yeah.
Make your
Yeah.
health, if you want to complete a Spartan Beast and actually be proud of your results, you've got to make your health non-negotiable. You've got to take time every day to work on you. And, it's not self-help. It's personal development. It's a whole different game. So guys, if there's anything about this that resonates with you and you'd like to get out there and kick some ass like a Spartan, we'd love to chat with you about that. And just so you know, doing a Spartan race is not required, although that might be one of your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, we can chat about that too, where you want to go with things in your career, where you want to go with things in your business, where you want to go with things in your personal life. Because I know the number one thing that people are losing in America, and people are working 40 plus hours around the globe, is they're losing their personal life. They're losing their health. They're sacrificing their families. They're sacrificing all their, they're not literally putting their families on a pedestal and sacrificing them, but they're not spending the time and having the impact with their families like they wish they would, because they're so focused on the work and they're not taking care of themselves. So what seems admirable actually starts backfiring in the long run.
Yeah, and Adam, I just want to add to that, like a Spartan race, I sort of envision when I think about, running up, coming up on one of those really big walls, the 8-foot walls, and seeing, people on the top pulling the people from the bottom and the people on the bottom pushing the people up to the top. And really realizing that that's what success is about. When I was in the worst of my worst, I had people offering to help me, to reach their hand down and say, get some help. You don't have to do this alone. Like proving that you're some kind of independent person who doesn't need, that you can power through and that you can do it. You don't need this. It doesn't work, and it's not helpful for you. And you're also not giving other people the opportunity to give you a gift of help, right? And so it's really about, there are people who have done this for me. And I think when I look back and I think about, this group, and I think about some of the people that I've talked to in this group, everyone in this group has just really killer goals. They have amazing things to offer their businesses and their families, and they have just really incredible goals that I love, and I love getting behind those, right? And that is what is so key, is to just really remember that your goals, the things you want, are achievable, and you're worth getting there. Because I know there was this point for me when I just kind of thought, well, this just doesn't happen for me, or I felt so kicked down and kicked in the face by life that I just sort of was like, yeah, well, there is no help for me, right? This is just how it is. And you acquiesce and you just kind of give up to this mediocrity. But the thing is it doesn't have to be that way. Adam and I have been at the bottom of the barrel. We know what it feels like to think that there is no, out, there is no solution. Yeah. But we're here to tell you that there is. And we've lived it. And, there's so much to be gained and learned here.
Remember, everybody wants the medal. Not just for the easy race. They want the medal for the hard race. They want to be able to get there and say, look what I can achieve. And look what I get from doing this. But so many people do not go out and get the help to make this happen. We lost our medals. We lost the race and our previous businesses. It was disastrous. It was a giant implosion. I'll be straight up with you. But I can tell you right now, if I knew then what I know now, it would not have happened. Mm-hmm. Look, life does not have to be so hard. So go over to movethinksmile.com/talk, book a call. You're going to chat with Ellie or myself. We can talk about where you're at with things, with your career. We can talk about where you're at with things, with any health issues that you're dealing with, especially when it comes to low energy and running on fumes and fatigue and just dragging yourself through the day. We can help you develop a game plan so you can actually, next time you power through, you do have a game plan and a strategy, help you become, anti-fragile, unbreakable, learn how to embrace the suck, right? And really learn how to break those limitations away from you and really, really develop a high-performing a high-performing career, really accelerate your business. And on that note, Elia, anything else?
No, I
All
think
right.
we're good. Any questions that you have, post them in the comments. If you're watching this later on, we are always available. If you have questions, shoot us a private message, whatever. We are here for you guys.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this on our podcast or on our YouTube channel, look up Move, Think, Smile or the Fatigue Free Professional and come on over and join the Facebook group so you can catch up on all of our live episodes. And until then, guys, may the course be with you.